It is I, Tully Astromancer here, and I've come to you today for another one of my live videos. It's 3:33 p.m. Yay! Make a wish. 3:33 is my favorite number. Yes, so I've come to you today to talk about some astrology, what's happening in the heavens. Just trying to pull up my program here. It's being slow, but that's okay. I hope you all are well, and I'm joined today by the very handsome owl-eyed, owl-eyed horned viper. This is Vincent. He's very handsome, and he loves me. um, yeah. So let's see this program. Let's get this going. So it's been a very interesting time because the sun has been in Pisces. And the most beautiful thing about Pisces is that it and the planets who govern it, which are Neptune and Jupiter, um, they all kind of band together to make this amazing thing called fantasy and illusion and hmm, lots of things. Music. Archangel Sandalphon, the angel of music, is the angel of Pisces. And what is more mystical and magical and fantastic than music, right? So, it's been kind of a hard time too because Mercury's been in retrograde. And that's usually challenging. I'm Mercury dominant, so I find I don't really notice retrogrades too much, consciously anyway. But I think this one's been very hard for me, and maybe others too, because I realize that Mercury is retrograding in Pisces, and Mercury is in its fall in Pisces, which means Mercury's weakest. And what is Mercury? Mercury is the mind. Mercury is the thinking processes. It's processing. Mercury in mythology was the god. Oh, yay! Oh, hello, Shannon. I'm so happy to see you. I'm here with Vincent, whom you've met before. That's fine. Welcome. um, oh, yay. Hope you're having a good day at work. So Mercury in mythology was the god who ferried the souls who had passed on from the world of the living to the world of the dead. As such, Mercury was known as um, a god who was able to go between worlds. He was able to go down into Hades, into the Elysian fields, perhaps even, um, and to Earth as well. And so Mercury, then in astrology, being our mind, helps us to communicate, to take from the inner world to the outer world, and from the outer world to the inner world, like a big circle, or a cycle anyway. And so when Mercury's in retrograde, things kind of, they say that a retrograde makes a planet act contrary to its nature. So how do you even do that with the mind? There's so many complex layers. There's the unconscious, there's the subconscious, there's the conscious, there's the hidden realms of the mind that are very deeply buried, right? And so one might say you would look to the sign that Mercury is in. So Mercury again is in Pisces, so he's at his weakest because like the mind is about analyzing, right? So the mind's like, oh, there's a star, and there's a star, and there's a star, and three, and four, and five, and six, and seven, and eight. Mercury likes to, it's exalted and it is in its best in Virgo, which is very detail oriented. Mercury, and they say the devil's in the details. That's something to remember too. And so like um, analyzing. But in Pisces, well, what is Pisces? Pisces is the very depths of the ocean. You could like look for like millions of miles. Yeah, exactly. You could look for millions of miles from where you're standing in Pisces, and all you would see is nothingness, just emptiness as far as the eye can see. But it's watery. very oceany. But maybe perhaps that's why Pisces also presides over fantasy and illusion and magic and music, because perhaps it can take the that and project it out and make something, perhaps all of existence, for us to enjoy. But um, Mercury's not happy down there because there's nothing to count. There's nothing to process or look at, and it can be a very maddening thing to need to process and to need to analyze, and then suddenly be in this ocean of like nothing makes any sense and everything's all psychedelic and groovy, or very vast and empty. How rich is your inner world? That's a very good question. Um, yes, so Mercury is not only in Pisces in its weakest, but now he's retrograding. So basically, retrograding is like, so the planets move along the degrees. Ooh, I'll draw pictures. Yay. I got this prepared because I thought I might like to draw pictures. Okay. So, let's see. Let me just quickly trace a circle here. Ta-da! A circle. Okay, so the planets are moving. Okay, so how am I doing this? It's all backwards. Let me draw it forwards first. Okay. So it's school time. Okay, so the signs are rising this way. Okay. So, the constellations rise in the eastern horizon, and they set in the western horizon. In the northern hemisphere, anyway. I can't speak for the south. But the planets are actually moving this way through the procession of the signs from Aries to Pisces. I only drew 4 just for my bearings here. But so a planet is moving. Ooh, there we go. Planet's moving, la 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 la, and then it gets to a certain degree. And then it keeps going, and then it starts to retrograde. So then it's moving in a perceivably backwards fashion back to this degree, and then it goes forwards again. It may go past. I'm not sure. But the reason that I marked this degree was this was the degree during Mercury's original direct motion that he will, retrograde back to. And so this is a day, 1 day, for example. And then it's 2 weeks for Mercury to retrograde. So retrograding 2 weeks back, and then going forward. So what is this back and forth, back and forth? Well, that's a very good question. It's highlighting and activating within you, and hopefully one can be conscious of this process, something that the soul needs to learn. And because it's Mercury retrograding, we have matters of the mind, perhaps old thought forms that are holding us back. That's supposed to be Mercury. I tried. Thought forms perhaps that are holding us back. So again, the symbol for Mercury is the crescent of the soul, upon the circle of spirit, supported by the cross of matter. So, soul, or receptivity, soul, crescent of the soul, moving through spirit into matter. And is that not what the mind is? Our souls moving through spirit into matter, through us? It's magic. Yes, and the moon has been in Gemini these last few days, which is interesting. And I was thinking that's interesting because when the sun is at one point and the moon forms a square, which is a distance of separation of 90 degrees, with an orb of 6. I'll get into orbs later. Remind me. So, yeah, when the sun and the moon are squared, it forms the half moon, which is, as you know, actually, I technically think it's called a quarter moon, but to me, I think it's a half moon, right? And depending on where the sun is, indicates where it's lit. So, a waning crescent is that. Anyways, waxing, waning, I don't know what we're doing right now, but so yeah, and it's interesting because Gemini is the twins, and the moon has been in Gemini, and Gemini is known for the perhaps intense polarity that it represents, of dark and light. So yeah, when the moon is in Gemini, our dualities start to become more apparent. And Mercury is retrograding, and Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So we have a Moon-Mercury melange happening. My program's still not working. Let's try something else. Why go ramming my head into the same wall? Why not just move over a bit and try the door? That's very good advice. See, and you know it's meant to be when it happens so quickly and easily. So, okay, so the moon, is at 0 degrees Cancer. How beautiful. So the moon naturally rules Cancer. So the moon is comfortable in Cancer. And again, the moon represents our inner world of emotions and instinctive reactions. The mood or kind of atmosphere within us. So we are a snapshot of the heavenly bodies at the moment we took our first breath on the planet. And so where the moon was when you were born is encapsulated within you for your life, your moon sign. So how are your moods expressed? There are 12 ways. So the moon naturally rules Cancer. So the moon is comfortable in Cancer. So our collective inner world of emotions and instinctive reactions that we're all sharing currently has just moved in 0 degrees, the most potent degree, to Cancer. The beautiful, nurturing, warm waters flowing with abundant life, nurturing and nourishing, mothering and compassionate Cancer. And isn't that a wonderful place for the moon to be, for your inner child to be, is splashing in the warm waters on a summer day? First day of summer, first moment of summer, 0 degrees Cancer. Yeah, how wonderful. So that means, let's see, 24 degrees Pisces is the sun. And the sun moves 1 degree a day. So it has 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 5, days left of Pisces. There's 5 days left of Pisces. I'm kind of sad, even though I'm kind of relieved because I'm heavily ruled by Virgo, so I'm finding this time very difficult. But I'm learning a lot about letting go and trusting and enjoying the flow. It's so hard. Why is it so hard? Oh, anyways, that was my little kvetch there. Okay, so 5 days left. So that does mean that the moon will trine the sun before Pisces is done. Pisces sun is done. The moon will trine the sun before the Pisces sun is done, which is wonderful because a trine is an effortless and beautiful flowing aspect that brings out the best of what it connects effortlessly, and it connects the sun and the moon, which is the sun is our wants and the moon is our needs. And when our wants and our needs are conflicting, then we have to work with this in a special way to get better peace out of life, better worth out of life, value out of life. And this is a wonderful time to start to learn, because the moon will be in, let's see, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Oh, the moon will be in the Pisces decan of Cancer. So a decan divides a sign into three. The first decan is always the sign that it's found in. The second decan, which is degree 10 to 19, the second decan is the second water sign in the series, which would be Scorpio. And the third decan would be the third water sign in the series, which is Pisces. So it's Cancer moon with a Pisces kind of influence, just subtle tint or filtered lens, which is wonderful, very dreamy, and that's what the moon's about, right? And the sun will be in the Scorpio decan of Pisces. So the sun is within the last 5 degrees of the entire zodiac before it starts again at the first degrees of Aries. 360 degrees, 365 days in a year. That's just crazy. It should be 360 days a year. It would make more sense. But how do you change thousands of years of people's minds? I'm just here to wear this lovely serpent and tell you about things that are special to my heart. Okay, so, yeah, so the Scorpio decan. So what takes us from the very end to the very beginning? What connects to make the circle? What joins those very last and very first pieces together? Well, it's the Scorpio decan of Pisces, which is the deepest, darkest, most mysterious, most secretive, most treasure-filled area of the oceans. Yeah, very magical indeed. And the first degree of Aries is Aries, decan of Aries, which is just pure explosion into existence. So, yeah. So sad that this astrological year is almost over. I wonder if I did enough. I wonder if I was good enough. These are questions that often go through my mind. But then I just think, hey, I'm wearing a peacock feather in my hat, and it's so pretty. Oh my gosh. And the beautiful things distract me from the inner torment. Yes, but from sorrow comes joy, and I am also full of joy. It's quite the paradox being a Libra. Libra balances. And what is Libra balancing? You have the stern, austere severity of Saturn. And you have the beautiful, carefree playfulness of Venus. What a tragedy to have to balance these two. And that's the tragedy of the air signs, and why perhaps in tarot the air signs are the most vicious of the cards, because air is represented by the sword. And what does the sword do but cut? um, Gemini is the first air sign. You have the duality of the twins. You have the darkness and the light, the shadow and the light. That's why we are in a polarity universe. And then you have Libra, and then Aquarius. And Aquarius is an interesting duality too, because you have, as I mentioned in the Aquarius sun in my live videos, you have Saturn and Uranus, the castrator and the castratee. In mythology, Saturn castrated Uranus, god of the sky, and his genitals fell into the sea, frothed up, and gave birth to the beautiful Venus. So you have castrator and castratee in ruling the same sign of Aquarius, which makes Aquarius quite dual in nature. Ooh. So you have Gemini, and Gemini is spring. It's the light, fresh air. It's the curious ideas, like, what is this flower? What is this tree? Everything's so beautiful. Just carefree mind. And then you have Libra, and Libra is the first of the nocturnal signs. And Libra is, how do I say this without seeming narcissistic? Libras are known for being charming and beautiful and pleasing and pleasant and fair and just. But I will also say the negatives of Libra, which is fickleness, liking and then not liking, and then liking and then not liking. And every sign has its positives and negatives. Not that I'm defending myself. Libra is lazy. Lazier than any Libra will ever admit, because Venus just wants to lounge. Libras just want to lounge languidly, loving life. Lusciously. But we do have Saturn, which does, anchor us into woe and hard work. October's child is born for woe, and life's vicissitudes must know, but lay an opal on their breast, and hope will lull their woes to rest. It's a birthstone poem that I read once. I thought it was so beautiful and applicable. And then Aquarius. And Aquarius, the neat thing about Aquarius is that Uranus is the god of the upper skies, and so you have Gemini collecting knowledge, Libra is kind of weighing it and balancing it, and then Aquarius is kind of just the higher mind, divine intelligence that's kind of pouring down to us always, and always accessible, heavenly chi in feng shui. It's wonderful stuff. But so many people have forgotten, because this world, as I've often said before, Saturn is the only planet that rules 3 signs. Saturn rules Libra, Saturn rules Capricorn, and Saturn rules Aquarius. So you have Saturn, which is the lower nature of humanity, the need for survival, struggle, limitations, fears, restrictions. Saturn is also, importantly enough, the force that condenses energy into matter. But then Saturn is the greater malefic and putrefies that matter. So condensing into matter and putrefying, condensing into matter and putrefying is Saturn's process. And Saturn is gravity, is time. Saturn is needed in this world, for Saturn makes up this world for the most part, and has the biggest say of the planets over us. But there are ways to counter Saturn in this heavy, heavy world. You can look to Saturn's opposite, which Saturn has 2 opposites in different ways. So Jupiter opposes Saturn because Jupiter is the higher nature of humanity. Jupiter offers us communication and intelligence. Jupiter offers us communication. Jupiter offers us reason and intuition and connection with the divine. Jupiter is joyful and happy, and Saturn is not. Saturn is the opposite. I bring this up often, but if you've watched The Last Unicorn, you'll know what I mean. And if you haven't, then you really need to. But King Haggard was a very sad Saturn. Like, I would say Saturn in Cancer, because Saturn is detrimented in Cancer, because Saturn actually rules Capricorn. And opposite Capricorn is Cancer, and Saturn's negatives are expressed more so in Cancer. And Cancer does rule the watery shores abundant with life and unicorns. But it was very sad because nothing made him happy except captivating the most beautiful, purest thing on earth. So that's just such a sad life. And then he had his fate. I won't say more because if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. But yeah, unicorn. I think I may end it there. Let's see if there's anything else I can comment on. Mars is still in Taurus, so Mars ruling Scorpio is detrimented in Taurus, so his negatives are expressed more so. And Mars is like the arrow, shooting the arrow, your will, your drive, your desire. You set it out there. And in Taurus, he's not very happy. I often liken this situation to G.I. Joe living in Barbie's dream house. There's too much pink. There's too much pink. And so he's very angry about this. And Mars is at the minor malefic. So Mars is yang malices. So you have war, violence, aggression, anger. Saturn is a yin malice or malefic. Saturn is internal, so fears, restrictions, limitations, the things that bring us into ourselves and imprison us from being out in the world and carefree and full of life and love. So Mars in Taurus is very stubborn and projecting that stubbornness and just being that stubbornness and just taking what it has, even if it's like a broken plate, and it's like, this is my plate, and like, oh, here's a beautiful new plate. No, this is my plate. That's an extreme, perhaps, as there are varying degrees on either side of the spectrum, of course. Venus is 15 degrees Aquarius. She's at the very center of Aquarius. Oh, and another thing about Aquarius is Aquarius tends to make very detached what is found within it. So, because Aquarius is the god of the upper skies, what a perspective to look at reality on. It's just, you see everything, or at least half the earth, or all the earth, because you're the god of the sky. And, right? So Aquarius tend to be way up in the ethers. Aquarius sun, their self, individuality, is usually way ahead of their time. They're just way up there inventing and being creative. And Venus in Aquarius would lend detachment to one's affections. So it would be very easy for one to, with their Venus in Aquarius, it would be very easy for them to, who are born with their Venus in Aquarius, it'd be very easy for them to turn off and on their affections, perhaps, or rather to come across as callous or cold, detached with affections. Because when somebody's giving you their affections, you feel it. When somebody's not giving you their affections, you feel it. And it's not that they're necessarily, oh, hello, welcome. We're just talking about Aquarius. Oh, Venus in Aquarius, to be specific. So Venus, one born with Venus in Aquarius may come across as affectionately detached, one who perhaps comes across as callous. And it's not necessarily that they are intentionally withholding affections, it's that their affectionate nature, their values, all that Venus rules within them is in Aquarius. And so it's way up in the ethers and it's having a grand, large perspective of things. So that's a bit of a struggle for Aquarius, is seeing the little details because of the grand perspective that it holds. So Venus in Aquarius might be someone who doesn't realize that they're getting lots of affections from lots of people, but perhaps their affectionate nature is tuned elsewhere. Saturn is in Capricorn, which is really nice because Saturn is the greater malefic, and we want the malefics to be comfortable because when they're not comfortable, we're not comfortable, and we're not comfortable with them at the best of times. So Saturn in Capricorn is good because Saturn is leaning more towards the neutral, not detrimented, but good. But Saturn, you know, is pretty heavy and serious. So we have an opportune time for us to focus on our goals and manifesting them, because the energies are ripe for this. Saturn, you can think of it like a plow, plowing through the zodiac and just like tilling the soils of our souls. And um, regardless of whether there's a tender root there or regardless of whether there's a rabbit in the soil, the plow just plows and it churns up things and it destroys all that is not authentic. Which brings me to something exciting, and I wore my unicorn shirt because you have the stages of Capricorn, the decans of Capricorn. So the first decan of Capricorn is Capricorn. And a Capricorn, because decans are an additional lens, is the crocodile. The crocodile. And think about the nature of the crocodile. It lays in the water and it soaks up the sun because it's cold-blooded. And then there's like a zebra there. Oh, I'm so hungry, says the crocodile. And the crocodile moves ever closer. And these are things that we don't like to think about, right? Because, it's so sad and seemingly cruel. But it is nature. And we are nature. And we must accept the darkness with the light, for we are in a polarity universe. And try to perhaps stay balanced in the center, but Lord knows that's not always possible. But trying perhaps not to swing too deeply between the dark and the light. Anyways, the Capricorn is the crocodile. And then we move next into the Taurus Capricorn. And the Taurus Capricorn is perhaps a little lighter in heart, because Taurus is a spring sign. And the lighter in heart Taurus Capricorn is represented by the mountain goat, which is like, how impossible is that? That this giant thing on these tiny little feet, on this tiny little ledge, like with like thousands of feet descending below it, and it's just standing there, chewing on its grass, perhaps, or trying to reach a branch to eat. I don't know. But that's just like impossible, it seems. Scaling the highest heights with ease and grace. That is the Taurus decan Capricorn. So if your sun was born 10 to 19 degrees Capricorn, that is you. And then we have the last 20 to 29 degrees of Capricorn is the Virgo Capricorn. That's so exciting. And what is the Virgo Capricorn? It's represented by the unicorn. Purity, purification. The unicorn's horn purified all that it touched, even of the most vilest poisons. Because the purity is something to strive for because of that. and many other reasons. Many, many other reasons. But that is why Saturn, which is at the second to last degree of the Taurus decan of Capricorn, being 18 degrees at the current, Saturn is plowing. And he's plowing and he's tilling the soil for us. And we get wounded in life. Our soil is tilled. And we hold on to that resentment. And it grows these little, I'll say rotten potatoes. The C word. Because we hold on to these resentments. And so it's a blessing that we have the heartache and the tears and the anger and the sorrow and the happiness and everything, because that is why we are here, in a way, to experience these things, but not to let them define us, but to let them strengthen us and to hone us like a fine blade in the forge. We must be properly honed, otherwise we will shatter when used. Yeah, I'm just waxing poetic now. I think I only get an hour on this thing. I'll make more of these, I promise. I know I have struggles. Everyone does, and I don't always get the chance to do this, but I love doing this. But for now, I bid you adieu. And Vincent too, my owl-eyed viper, horned viper. Yay! Yee. Have a lovely day, and always remember, Stargazers, you are loved. Oh, I guess I should say this, even though I seem to have blocks. If you like my services, please check out my website, www.quintileastromancy.com. My website has free videos of my esoteric ramblings, as well as a series on energetic hygiene. How we are taught to bathe physically, but we are not taught to clean ourselves energetically. Generally speaking, I'm not speaking for everyone. Oh, here we go. www.quintileastromancy.com. I won't show you the other side. That is a mystery for you to see in person. Yes. You are loved. Oh yes, my website. So check it out. There's lots of information, lots of free things that I offer freely for you all, to hopefully help you to see how you can live more comfortably and happy and healthy in this life. So for now, farewell.